Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome back to my Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly ramble about bookish things, BookTube, etc. You're probably tired of seeing me if you've been following me all week. I did 5 book tags in the first 5 days of this week. I disguised them as Vlogmas so it didn't seem so egregious. But I did have fun making those, even if I'm a little tired of making videos. And so to be honest with you, I'm filming this on Friday afternoon, not on Saturday or not even, late Friday night. I decided to come out this afternoon on this kind of gray, late fall day here. Give the dogs a chance to run around and show out and be outside. Zelda, hush. And change up the background a little bit. And, I have actually been thinking a lot of kind of bookish thoughts and had some stuff going on, some caused by the news, some caused by events in the book world. And so what I wanted to start off doing was talking about the issue of wokeness and book prizes. And really what kind of triggered me to talk about this, is comments made by John Banville, the author, Booker Prize winning author John Banville made about the Booker Prize and its future. And essentially, in an interview I believe he did for The Guardian, he said he kind of hated this kind of woke moment where he considers this kind of performative effort at, I guess he considers it to be a form of effort at racial inclusion and diversity, and he basically opined that he didn't think someone like him would probably ever win the Booker Prize again, or could win the Booker Prize, and someone like him would, I think, be, if I'm not wrong, a straight white man. And this then kind of led me to thinking about BookTube prizes and fairness and wokeness and what all this means. And so there are just a couple of points I want to make as a part of maybe starting a discussion with you here about this issue. And these are things I think I've brought up before, but I want to mention specifically in connection to this issue of this kind of perception among some people, straight white men, that wokeness is ruining things like the Booker Prize. The first point I want to make is I don't know that the Booker Prize, the Man Booker Prize, has ever been awarded to a book that was universally acknowledged as the single best book published in any given year within the English Empire, England, or whatever, or former English colonies. I don't know there's ever been a book that was universally accepted as that. Maybe Wolf Hall is an example of a book that everybody thought should win. But for the most part, there's always some controversy, and there are always people who feel like the best book didn't actually win. So even though book prizes like the Booker Prize say they want to award their prize to the best book, I don't think that's ever been true or possible. So, any kind of outrage that the book that won might not be the best book just to me seems, run-of-the-mill standard stuff. Then the issue of, is this woke moment, this woke time period we're living in, is that making the BookTube prizes even more unfair? Well, again, that kind of brings up the issue of were BookTube prizes like the Booker Prize ever really fair? Do they not have a history, perhaps, of excluding women, of being less likely to consider works by women, LGBTQ plus authors, authors of color? Aren't those, or isn't there a history and somewhat of tradition of leaning more heavily towards, awarding white males the Booker Prize? And I think that's true. I think the Booker Prize has done a pretty good job compared to other book prizes, but I do think there's some truth there. So to me nowadays, if you're worried about the prize being unfair, it's because you're worried that not enough, it almost feels like you're worried that, straight white men are not going to win as many prizes as they used to. And that begs the question, did they deserve to win all the prizes that they won in the past? In addition, a second point I want to make about this whole Booker Prize thing and what Banville said is just kind of the idea that wokeness is the problem. Well, the truth of the matter is the Booker Prize is chosen every year by a different group of judges. It's starting to rain, I think, so I'm going to have to go inside. I don't know, maybe I can get it in. It's chosen by a different group of judges, and the Booker organization chooses the judges, and more recently they've been choosing a more diverse group of judges. And as they choose more diverse judges, I think we naturally assume those diverse judges are going to choose more diverse works. isn't that a good thing? Isn't that a beneficial thing? You know, isn't that something we want? So if you say you kind of hate this woke moment and you say that you're, you know, essentially they're excluding because they're woke the works of single white men, then what you're really saying is that you don't want diverse a judging pool. And then also, just, you know, Banfield's comment, obviously, you know, being a historian, made me go look to see if this kind of woke moment is leading to the exclusion of straight white men from winning the Booker Prize. And so I just looked at the last 10 years, the last decade, 2011 to 2020, because decades begin in the year 1, not the year 0. And if you look at that, 3 straight white men have won the Booker Prize in the last 10 years. 2017, George Saunders won. 2014, Richard Flanagan won. In 2011, Julian Barnes won. So a third, almost a third, or 30% of the Booker Prizes in the last 10 years, in this kind of the most woke moment, I guess, we've ever had in, world history, 30% of those still went to straight white men. I'm willing to bet you that straight white men don't make up 30% of the population that is eligible for the Booker Prize. Anyway, so to me, this just sounds like a lot of white male whining. Straight white men whining about losing their privilege, that kind of quote that I love so much. I think that's really what we're looking at here as an example of with Banville, and all this worry about the prizes being too woke. By the way, also, I read an article in the New York Times just today called "Why is Publishing So White?" I'll try to leave a link to it down below. Based on their methodology, they said that even in 2018, only about 11% of all the books published by major publishing houses came from authors of color. Anyway, love to see what you think about that. Love to, have an argument with you in the comments about it, whether you're Steve Donahue or anybody else. Another thing I want to talk about today, another bookishly thought thing I had to do with one of the tags that I did this week, was the bookshelf tag. And in the bookshelf tag, I had to do something I don't normally do, which is kind of show my bookshelves, because I've stated that I'm not really a big fan of bookshelf tour videos, and I just choose not to watch those. Not that there's anything wrong with them, it's just they're not the videos for me. But I still made the bookshelf tag video. And in the comments section, Cynthia from BookWhimsy, commented on loving to see all the pictures and knickknacks that people have on their shelves, because it's like a mini museum of who we are. And so I started thinking about, and this is probably an obvious thought, but I started thinking about it maybe for the first time, as my bookshelf is kind of a museum of who I am and who I have been. If you were to go to my bookshelf, you would still see that a large chunk of the authors and books represented on my bookshelf were written by white American men, authors who are considered to be, to have written classic works of American literature in the 20th century. I have all the Hemingway, at least all the non-posthumously published Hemingway. I have all the Faulkner. I have all the Fitzgerald. I have those writers, on my shelves, and that represents where I started my reading journey and who I was as a reader in my 20s and 30s. And so it's kind of like a little historical representation of me. But if you were to continue looking and look deeper, you would see that my reading has become more diverse, and hopefully that trend continues. And if you were to dig one, like in an archaeological dig, stick with the metaphor here, if you were to dig one shelf, one layer deeper, and remove some of the books I have, fronting my shelves, you would find a massive number of John Updike books, which I have essentially moved back behind the visible books. Maybe in an attempt to hide them, probably just an attempt because I'm too lazy to remember to take them to a resale shop or to take them to a charity shop. But anyway, and so it'd be like a little archaeological dig of kind of who I used to be and what I used to read and what I used to value in my reading. One of the things I hope about myself is that even though I'm 53 now, that I continue to evolve as a person in my thinking, and I continue to grow. And in some ways, I hope that my bookshelf represents that. That might be too cheesy. Anyway, there we go. I also did some reading this week. I finished a book. I finished The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemison. This was a buddy read that I did with Lukash from Cruel Reader's Thesis. Lukash and I read the entire Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemison over, I think, the course of about the last year Yeah, maybe over the course of last year, last 2 years, we read the whole Broken Earth trilogy, and I really liked it. I liked the whole trilogy. Each one of the books was really, I think, distinctive and kind of impressive in their own ways. For me, the first book, the 5th season, was just incredibly impressive in terms of world building and timeline and introducing a whole lot of things that really won't come together till the end. The Obelisk Gate is the second book in that series, which, you know, most people say they didn't like as much. I have a tendency to like those books that are kind of that transition from here's what you need to understand, here's the world I've created, to where we're going to end up. I liked it, but, you know, not as good as the other two. And The Stone Sky, I just thought was a really kind of brilliant pulling together of all those threads and themes and ideas and characters and timelines. And when I finished reading it, I had the reaction I sometimes have when reading books that impress me, of like not almost being incredulous of the idea that somebody could have held all these ideas in their head at any time and brought it all together and figured out a way to pull it all off. And it's really, to me, an impressive work of writing. I don't read a lot of fantasy, but I think I am now an N.K. Jemison fan, and definitely look forward. I think I'm going to pick up The City We Became, which is her newest book, and I know it's a part of a series of books as well. But I'm kind of excited about that. I'm kind of excited maybe of this being my reintroduction to fantasy literature. And the last thing I want to talk about has to do with politics in general. You know, lots going on in politics in Great Britain, in the United States. Here in the United States, we are, I think as of today, something like 40 or 39 days away of being rid of Donald Trump. And despite all the things going on and all the ridiculous court cases and the apparent abdication of a belief in democracy of the majority of our elected Republican officials, we are about to get rid of Donald Trump and go back to, I hope, a more traditional, well, not completely more traditional, but I hope I go back to a more reasonable, sane democracy, civil rights loving, justice oriented United States government. I don't know how long that'll last. Hopefully Democrats will win control of the Senate and we'll get at least 2 years to try to put things back on track. That remains to be seen. But it got me thinking about politics, and, you know, since that last thing I talked about was about me evolving as a person, I am a very political person. If you followed my channel for a while, you know I posted quite a few political videos on my channel in the past. And so politics is one of those things that I'm about, one of those things that I am interested in, one of those things I hopefully am active in, even though probably not nearly active enough. And one of the key things I think about politics that is missing in the United States today, and maybe in Great Britain and maybe other parts of the world, is this willingness to listen to the other side. So, kind of in political historical terms, I'm kind of a Hegelian in my thinking: thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That's kind of how I think about almost everything politically. And so I kind of wanted to make, leaves are falling on me, I kind of wanted to make BookTube recommendations, which I've made before in both cases, kind of providing this, you know, one side and another. And this is not perfect, because the first thing I need to tell you is the person I'm going to recommend as the conservative by American standards, the first person I want to recommend as a conservative is an actual conservative. They're not a Donald Trump conservative, because Donald Trump is not a conservative, he's an authoritarian. And that's David Murphy. David Murphy's background is economics. He knows more about economics and finance and all those issues than anybody I know, to be honest with you. And he oftentimes on his channel posts economic videos about economics and economic theory. And that does, I don't think you can really separate economics on the macro scale from government action. And I think he provides a really informative, balanced, open-minded, conservative viewpoint. And then on the other side, there is Brianna from Brianna's Library. Brianna's channel is very political. I'm going to say that on the left, and I'm not trying to offend Brianna at all. That's just the definition I'm going to give. I put David on the right. I'm going to put Brianna on the left. And he reads a lot of political theory, a lot of politics, a lot of books about racial justice and working towards racial justice. And I just enjoy all of her videos. I love looking at her book list. I love hearing what she's read. And while I don't think I'm you know, I don't know that I support all of, well, I'm sure I don't support all of Brianna's beliefs or all of David's beliefs. Listening to them both and getting that input from knowledgeable people on both sides, I think makes me better able to evaluate what's going on in the United States and the world politically, economically, racial justice-wise as well. And so let me encourage you to, you know, if you're not already subscribed, to subscribe. Neither one puts out a lot of videos because both are young people and they're busy. But to subscribe to their channels and go back to their backlist, because it provides valuable insights from two very different perspectives, which is what I think we need more of in American politics. Anyway, there you go. That's a lot of rambling and pot stirring probably right there. Look forward to your comments in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching.